Have you ever felt stuck in any area in your life, perhaps in your finances, in your relationships, in ministry? Have you ever felt that you want to advance, but you just don't know how? You don't know what to do, you don't know how to move on. In this video, if that is you, I want to give you 4 things for you to do to find movement again after being stuck for a while. I'm actually want to go to the scriptures in John chapter 5. There's a similar situation of a man who's been stuck for 38 years. He couldn't advance, he couldn't move. He was hoping, expecting, but nothing had happened in such a long time. And it's interesting how Jesus shows up in the picture, and it's fascinating how the entire dynamic and the entire life of this man, his entire life is about to change. And I would love to just point out to you and just bring to your attention that it's not that people are lazy at times, or perhaps that they lack in motivation, but many people do get discouraged, and they actually arrive at a place in their lives where they feel there's no way out, where they feel they don't know what to do next. And if that is your case, I believe that this video can really help you, and you can benefit a lot from it, because they are practical things that you can actually do with the help of the Lord to get moving again, to get dreaming again, to pursue again the plan of God, the dreams that you've had for so long, the plan of God for your life. So if we look at chapter 5, actually verse 6, in the book of John, it says, there was a certain man who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus noticed him lying there hopeless, knowing that he had been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to get well?" It's beautiful how Jesus shows up in the picture, and the first thing that he does is he actually asks a question to this man who is about to confront his current situation. With so much kindness, with so much love, he's asking him, do you want to get well? Do you want to change the condition that you are in? Do you want something different for your life? And the first point, the first thing that I would love to point out to you, the first thing that you could actually do when you've been stuck for so long in any area in your life, in your finances, in your business, in ministry, in your relationships, in any area, the first thing that you could do is to be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. It's so great when we actually get to a place where we become aware of the situation that we are in, and we finally admit that we do need a change. We finally admit that we want a change, that we want to level up, that we want things to be different, that we don't want to be stuck in the same situation, in the same circle, in the same relationships that are leading nowhere in your life. But you are realizing that you do want a change. And it catches my attention because Jesus says, hey, what do you want to do about the condition that you were in? What do you want to do about your situation? And I am a firm believer that change begins with honesty. Change starts when you are honest, when you decide to say, hey, here is what I'm at. I'm fully aware I need a change in my life. I need a change in my finances, in my marriage, in my family. I need a change in how I've been running my company, how I've been running my business. And sometimes people could easily hide discouragement. They could hide the fact that they are just surviving. They could hide the fact that although outside things look okay, internally there is a disconnection. Internally something is missing. Internally they are bleeding. And this man was actually at the point where he would not have been able to move on unless he had first admitted that he needed a change. So Jesus beautifully confront him with the truth. What do you want to do? Do you want to get well? Perhaps you are at a situation in your life, in your company, in your ministry where God has been confronted you, where family members, people that love you, perhaps they've asked you the hard questions, and you are at the moment where you are realizing, hey, I cannot go on this way. I cannot continue the way I'm going. I need to turn around. I need a change. So, the second thing that I would love to point out, the second thing that you actually could do if you want movement after feeling stuck for so long in any area in your life, is that you must stop building your identity around the season in which you have been stuck. You must stop building your identity around the season in which you found yourself stuck. What do you mean, Frank? I'll put it in simple terms. If you think because you fail once or you fail for the season in a particular area in your life, you are a failure, you are choosing to believe a lie. You are not a failure. See, the season that you have been in doesn't define who you are. The season that you have experienced doesn't define who God created you to be, who God designed from the very beginning of creation that you will be, because when He gave you purpose, when He gave you a divine design, He didn't design you with failure in mind. There's moments, seasons in our lives that are very difficult. We go through ups and downs. We go through valleys, moments in which we don't know what is happening. We don't know what we are experiencing. But the key is, do not allow a moment, a season to define you. You could have perhaps failed when you started your last business. You could have failed perhaps in a relationship. Maybe you are missing how to really build a family, how to engage and be connected with your kids at home. Perhaps you've missed that, but don't let that define you. Don't let that moment write a name over you. But on the other hand, remind yourself who you truly are. You are a child of God. You've been created with a purpose. You've been designed with a purpose. Perhaps you're going through a difficult time, but that moment, that situation doesn't define you. This man thought that because for 38 years he was sick by that pool, crippled, not being able to move, that was going to be his eternal destination. When Jesus was about to show up in the picture, and his whole life was about to change in a moment, because that's the way he works. That's who he is. When he shows up in our lives, everything goes back to how he designed it. When he shows up and we allow him to come in and we extend an invitation to the Lord to work in areas in our lives that perhaps were hidden, that perhaps we didn't want people to come in because they were still sensitive, they were still hurting. But if we invite him in, he could come in and turn our whole lives around. So I want you to remember that disappointment, failure, moments of anxiety, they don't define you. But on the other hand, those moments are opportunities that God is capable of using in order to bring you into the next season in your life, into a place where faith can flourish again, where you can start dreaming again, where you can see victories in your business, in your family, in your relationships. So when the Lord encounters this man, see, I I wrote this down. It's fascinating. When he encounters him, I wrote this: what you've been through should not become the loudest voice shaping who you are. When he encounters this man, he reminds him that what he's been through is not his final destination. What he's faced is just been an opportunity for God to show up in the picture and turn his life around. What he's been through is an opportunity for the test to be turned into a testimony, for the difficult time to be turned into a moment in which he can share with others and say, hey, I experienced freedom. I experienced a change. Now, it is possible. I want you to know it is possible for you to experience change, for you to experience transformation as well. So do not allow what you've been through to become the loudest voice. There is a voice who's asking, do you want to get well? Do you want to experience breakthrough? Do you want to experience transformation? Do you want to experience what I'm capable of doing? And that is the voice of the Lord. And I'm sure that even as you watch this, some of you could be actually be listening to that voice who is inviting you into a moment of change. That voice that is inviting you into a journey of transformation. So first, remember, there's got to be a point that you understand and you say, you know what? I got to change. There's got to be honesty. You've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be honest about areas in your life that you know that He's inviting you in to lead you down a path of transformation. There's got to be awareness. Number two, you've got to remind yourself that what you've been through doesn't define you. Don't allow that to determine and to say, well, now because you fail, you are a failure. Because there was a moment of disappointment, there's no hope for you. Because there was a moment that you walked through a valley, God has forgotten you or forsaken you. Do not allow that. And the third thing that you could actually do to experience movement while you've been stuck in any area in your life is take a small movement of faith. Take a step, a small step of faith. If perhaps you've been stuck in your company for so long and you say, Frank, my business is just literally, it's collapsed, it's nothing, it's dying, it's drying. I don't think there's any hope for that company, for that business. Take a small step of faith. How about you make one phone call? How about you pray a prayer? How about you simply reach out to someone? How about you take one step, take one more step, a small step of faith? Because so many of us at times we wait for everything to be ready, for everything to be aligned to actually then get going. When in reality, some of these things will be aligned as you go. Some phone calls will come in as we get going. Some new clients, if you're on a business, will come in as you get going. That ministry could be turned around as you make a decision to make a change in your pastoral staff, to make a change in the way you've been running your church, to make a change in your perspective, to make a change in just the way you are seeing life. When you do take a small step, things could turn around quickly for you. I wrote this down. Faith often starts moving before feelings catch up. Faith often starts moving. In other words, before you sit there and say, well, I have to feel that everything is right, everything has to fall into place. Before that, how about you open the company? Before everything falls into place, how about you get going? How about you start implementing changes in your life? Frank, I don't feel the best, but you could act the best. You could get going. See, you could get going. You can move on. You could still have a positive attitude. You could still trust God and know that He is able to make things fall into place. Because when we go through those times in our lives where things are just acting crazy, you could still say, you know what? I choose to trust God. I choose to believe. I choose to keep my hopes and my anticipation high, because I know that eventually things will turn out. See, often God is watching your attitude. Is often, I tell my kids all the time, kids, is about attitude. I tell my daughter all the time, it's about attitude, because it's how you behave, it's how you carry on. I remember one time I was playing golf with a great friend, and he's my mentor when it comes to golf. I've learned so much from him, and I just couldn't hit the ball straight, even if my family's life depended on it. And I was just playing terrible golf. And he looks at me and he goes, Frank, I know you're playing bad, but I need you to behave well. I need you to behave good. And that just struck me because I was like, well, the outcome might not be the best, but I manage how I behave. I manage my attitude. I could make a difference. And eventually, as I changed my attitude, as I got to hole 10, I remember till this day, I just sat there at the tee box and I just hit a drive straight down the middle, like if it was a complete different golfer. I manage my attitude. When you choose to keep moving, to take small steps of faith, things can begin to turn in your favor. And then all of a sudden, what seemed stuck for so long now is actually going. Now is actually moving. Now you're getting calls for your business. Now things are turning around in the church. Now all of a sudden your own life is turning around. Your attitude has changed. Now changes as a result of that are following. And it's fascinating because this man that sat there for so long, and it's funny because at a time he started blaming everyone. At a time he said, well, it's that I have no one to help me, sir. When the waters do get stirred, I have no one to carry me and put me in the pool for me to receive a miracle. And he was actually looking at other people and saying, he don't want to help me. She doesn't want to help me. My daddy don't want to help me. And he started just looking at everyone rather than making a decision within himself and saying, you know what? It's about time. And at that moment, it's beautiful. Verse 8, Jesus looks at him and he said to him, get up, pick up your pallet and walk. Immediately the man was healed and recovered his strength and picked up his pallet and walked. Now that day was the Sabbath. So interesting that the moment Jesus saw a change in this man's attitude, he said, you know what? I do want to get well. You know what? Yeah, maybe I didn't get help from so and so, but now at this point, it's up to me. I want to get well. I want to make a decision. I want to see my business thriving. I want to see my church blooming. I want to see my own life flourishing. I want faith to come back into the picture. I want to believe again. I want to hope again. I want to dare to dream again. And perhaps that's where you find yourself, my friend. I want to take 2 seconds and encourage you. I want to tell you it is possible. It is possible to be made whole. It is possible to be well, to be healed, to experience change and transformation. It is possible the moment you lean into the journey that the Lord is calling you on. It is possible to see light at the end of the tunnel. And the moment you take a step, things will begin to change. Things will begin to turn around because you might be saying, how can I really come out of this circumstance? How can I come out of this situation that I've been on for so long? It begins with honesty. It begins with you knowing that your past doesn't define you. You can take a step of faith today and your whole life could be turned around. And then finally, what else can you do? Number 4, you must stay close to the voice of Jesus. You must stay close to the voice of Jesus. It's beautiful how the Lord's voice returned movement to the life of this man. He was crippled. He couldn't move. He couldn't walk. Many of you have gotten to the point where you're no longer hoping. You lost all hope. You're no longer dreaming. You're saying, Frank, because of what I've been through, I'm just discouraged. It's not that I'm lazy. I'm done with life. I'm done with believing that it is possible to build a company. I don't think it's possible to finish what I started. I don't think it's possible to be successful, to build a ministry without losing my soul. You know what, my friend? It is possible if you stay close to the voice of Jesus. I want to just finish this saying that Jesus still speaks movement into weary places. He still brings life back into valleys of dry bones. He's still capable of turning your life, your situation around, if you just give him an opportunity. This man leaning to that voice, it was the Lord asking him a question. Would you lean into that voice today? What could happen if you were to lean into the voice of the Lord today? What could happen to your company, to your marriage, to your family, to your kids, if you were to lean into that voice today and follow the path that he's calling you on? I would love to take a minute and just pray for you if you allow me to do so, because I think moments like this can change our entire lives. Moments like this can determine how we move on from here on, how the rest of our lives will be. Moments in which we choose to be honest, in which we decide not to allow discouragement, anxiety, failures of the past, fears to dictate who we are. You are a child of God, created with a purpose. A great divine design is on your life, my friend. What are you going to decide today? Whose voice are you going to lean on? If you do lean into the voice of Jesus, your whole life could change. Allow me to pray for you. Father, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this moment that we can experience before you. We make a decision to be honest with ourselves. I pray for every friend that is watching this video, pastors, leaders, business owners that have been building for so long, but they are exhausted, they are tired, they felt discouraged, and as a consequence, they stopped building. And Father, they even fell into a place that they feel crippled, they feel they can't go on. Today, may be a day of change and a day of transformation. As they are honest with themselves, Father, they decide to look forward, to lean into the voice of Jesus, and to allow you to turn their lives and their situations around. I speak life into your situation, and perhaps it feels like a valley of dry bones, but today you're going to get up and you're going to walk. You're going to take one step. You're going to put one foot in front of the other, and you're going to experience the love of God and his kindness just be outpoured upon you in a way you've never felt it before. You're going to take a step of faith. And I know the Father that I serve is capable of turning things around in your life. Thank you very much for taking a moment and spending this time here with me watching this video. I really pray that it can edify your life and you can leave this place and make a decision, and you can experience that transformation you've been hoping for. Feel free to follow us on the socials. Feel free to drop a comment in the video, share this video, send it to someone, and I can't wait to see you next time.